When Dick Ranck's card for his new art show arrived, my heart leaped for joy. When I arrived at the gallery, I asked him first to read his statement. I followed that up by peppering him with questions and finally, an inappropriate suggestion. It was a wonderful opening with lots of Philadelphia's best artists in attendance. Okay, my friend, chop chop, what do you have to say for yourself?
The paintings and sculptures in my Rosemont College exhibition span the years from the mid-90s to 2024. In 1996, exhausted by Philadelphia and needing to be far away, I went to Australia for a month to visit my brother and paint. My wife Brooke supported my going, even though I stuck her with the care of our 2 young daughters. It was a transformative trip. I traveled and painted every day. When I returned, Brooke said I got off the plane with an aura, so happy and so refreshed. And from the adventure, I found a way to look at work that wasn't imitative. Dream time, an Aboriginal process of self-discovery, of looking inside rather than out. The primitive and Aboriginal worlds attract me because of their attempts, without 1,000 years of depictions preceding them, to find answers, to understand, to explain visually. It was with them that religion and philosophy began, I think. Once I started copying cave art, I saw that it was perceptive, accurate, and yet stylized. Can you imagine what a leap that was? To simplify form aesthetically. I like to imagine what those moments felt like. Making a mark with a stick in the dirt and thinking, wait a minute, that looks like the beginning of something. Pretending suits me. I pretend and imagine to my heart's content. Each of these paintings is like an advent calendar with little imaginary windows to open. When I paint, I'm no farther than arm's length from the canvas, which is to say that I think my work fits in any space you can stand in. The flat canvas for me is a place to bring things out, more than to conceive things into. The paint and surface are both my subjects and the objects that I thrill to touch. It's almost essential to run your hands over my work. I did and I do, but try not to leave food on them. As for sculptures, I love to go into the wood to amuse, to lament, to find the story. For no matter what I chisel away, there's still the thing. I can turn it and find more to see. Painting the figure required me to imagine the other side. I find inspiration in and am inspired by all good work. Abstraction is not the only way. Realism is not the only way. I like all styles. I learn from them, use them, steal from them. But I don't compare my imagery, such as it is, to things observed. It's more about the felt world than the perceived one. I am guided by an inner voice which I trust. When someone says, that looks like fun, and/or I wish I could make that, I feel vindicated. My goal is to encourage others to see everything and to be glad to be able to, and to give it a go themselves. After all, there is more than one way to do it. There's a painting in the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts collection called The Painter's Triumph by William Sidney Mount, which I love and which portrays a moment that I love. The artist proudly sharing a painting to a friend. Look what I did. I'm proud of this show and I hope you enjoy it too. Thanks to all of you for coming, and special thanks to Mike Wilsey, art professor and curator, for giving me this chance to show in this wonderful Rosemont gallery space. I'd like to take a moment to remember the late Joe Mooney, who is a friend, a fine sculptor, and whose show just preceded mine. I'd very much hoped to celebrate both with him. And of course to Brooke, my great love and the pedestal for all I do.
We're going to get back to the great love story between you and Brooke in a little bit, but first, I've got some questions. The paintings are what medium?
Acrylic. Sometimes I mix silica wax in with them to give a surface. Often use modeling paste of different kinds.
One of the techniques you have is almost sculptural in your paintings in that you'll see these embossed shapes covered with the background color, and it takes a while to notice them.
To me, the interesting part of painting is coming off the canvas, finding structure in the paint or the paint as an object. So I try things. If they're not just right, but I like the shape or the feel of them, I'll just paint over them but leave them in. Or they might guide me to a different place.
You definitely have become more and more abstract, and I think some of these new abstractions are really wonderful. What are you thinking about when you're doing those?
Can I just go,
Yes.
I don't have a simple answer for you. The thinking in my studio has not changed much. I've just learned more and learned how to do things, seen other people's work that I thought I could use. I think about everything in my life when I'm doing these paintings. Whether it's mythology guided me for a while. This idea of how to be a man. My painting is sort of physical because I'm kind of a physical person, like to feel things happening. And I think the paintings reflect that.
Some of the paintings have these creature-like forms, which at first I thought were birds, but then I thought, could it be a wolf? What are they? Or am I just reading too much?
You can't read too much into my work. Having spent times with Brooke looking at my work, she sees all kinds of animals that I never conceived of. So whatever you see is there as far as I'm concerned. Those shapes that you're talking about begin as structures. Sometimes I'll start with a structure and anthropomorphize it.
Now, you got to tell me a little bit about the sculptures. What kind of wood do you use? Do you get logs or?
People know that I'm doing it now. So they might say, hey, I've had a cherry tree come down on our property. Are you interested? There was a linden tree that had to be removed from our house. That turned upside down became growth. It appeared to have 4 legs. I just get them around. Sometimes I'll bring a piece back from Maine, a smaller branch that's all pickled, and just start carving it, either up there or back down here.
And of course you paint on them and then scrape the paint away and go back and forth between carving and painting, is that right?
Kind of self-taught. So the earlier pieces, I relied on paint to do what I couldn't figure out how to do with carving. As I've gotten more competent, I've also found other ways to bring the painting from the canvas onto the sculpture.
They seem like you work on them over and over again, and you're always putting little Easter eggs. You look at the back of it and all of a sudden there's a skeleton, and
It's just the joy of making, really. Also, that piece, growth through love and understanding, includes both lust and it also includes death. The skeleton was both, I thought, appropriate to the piece, but it was also fun to carve, like a challenge to myself. Can I get those ribs? How can I do that with just going underneath and around? And I'm guided again by primitive so-called art, which incorporates so many different things to tell the story. So a big sculpture, it's fun to put this thing and that thing and make them like the surface of caves where I tell little different stories.
And you're also adding assemblage elements like shells and copper wire and ribbons.
Yeah, I picked that up from early cultures, as they had mechanical or man-made things available to them which they didn't produce themselves. Sometimes they would wrap or make tchotchkes with things like that on it to give them extra power. And I guess that's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much. And give me one little tip on how to be a man, because I'm not very manly.
How to be a man. Honest,
Yes.
loyal,
Yes.
strong as you can be,
More or less.
assuaging fear.
Or living with fear, perhaps?
No, I don't like to live with fear. I don't live
Okay.
with fear. My guidance for how to be a man comes from mythology. I've read the Iliad over and over again. And just this idea of the hero, this perception of heroism was ingrained into me, not by my family saying, you need to be a hero.
Olivia, what's your grandfather like? Is he a pretty nice guy?
But from the things that I was exposed to, like mythology, like religion.
And since the hero always gets the girl, and because as far as how to be a man goes, you cannot top Pee Wee Herman. I want to end this movie in a particular way. Okay, I want you two to break the Pee Wee Herman longest kiss in cinematic history. Go. Go. All right, it's going to be like 4 minutes, though. No. All right, come on. You can do better than that. Go. Instead of standing there and gawking at their record-breaking smooch, I sought out the granddaughter star of an earlier Dick Ranck movie. Tallulah, do you remember being at your granddad's opening when you were a baby? You were the most wonderful part of the whole show. Did you know that? It's true. I think it's time that we check back in with Dick and Brooke. All right. Enough friskiness. This is an art opening. You can catch Dick Ranck's marvelous show at Rosemont College through September 30th, 2024. It's well worth a visit.